Hi everyone, this is Lynn here from Paper Life, and I wanted to make a video for you guys. Sorry it's been a while since I've made one, but you know how life is, it just gets in the way sometimes. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use either mail envelopes that you get in the mail or just regular envelopes. I've coffee stained most of mine. I just like the look of it. You don't have to. One tip I wanted to give is when I coffee stain my paper, I always do it in the oven. Well, these little windows usually have plastic in them. So either remove the plastic or instead of putting them in the oven, let them air dry because the plastic will melt. I just have a bunch of really basic supplies. I have my glues, I have some scrap paper, I have kind of what I'm going to use as my prettier paper. This is from the Vintage Spring digital kit that I have out right now. And I believe these papers actually came from part 1. That's because I'm making a journal with it, so I'm going to be using this stuff in there. I made this video. This is my take 2. My first one ended up being an hour. I am not going to post a video that's an hour long. So you guys all know how much I love redoing my videos. I don't do it, but this time I'm going to. Let's see, where did I put? In here somewhere, I did one. All I did was I took an envelope. I went ahead and used one from the store. I put it on my paper. I ran a bead of glue down, hold on one second, I'll find another one. Okay, I ran a bead of glue just down this side so that this part became glued down like that. This allows me to be able to slide something in there, hold it in, but it also gives me, when it's inside my book, this will open up and it allows me to put, you know, a journaling card in there, notes, whatever it is I want to do. So there is one very easy thing that you can do. And that's good. I hate when I mess up my pages. In a signature. They have an order. They have to stay in that order. So what I did with this one was I just folded over the edge, or just folded up one end of it. And what that will do, I did not glue the flat part of the envelope. So it gives me right there as a tuck. I could either, yeah, I'm not going to cut this one. Okay, so this gives me right here is a little tuck spot. I would glue up this side and this side, giving me a pocket here. Then when you glue it onto your page, you could either run a bead of glue here and here, allowing this to be a tuck-in area, or you could glue down here and up here, and sorry, across the bottom, making it a pocket to go in there. So there's a kind of simple way. This was another piece that I made, and we're gonna, here, we'll grab this little piece of scrap here. You can either glue it down the side of your page, you know, go through and glue all of it down, and it'll give you one little side tuck. My pages, since they are smaller, this envelope would be too long. It overhangs like that. So what I can do is fold this corner up, and now this gives me another little tuck area that I can stick something in. One of your other options would be, instead of gluing this side here completely down is you could just run your bead of glue across the top, down the side, and across the bottom. And then it would actually give you two areas. You would have this one right behind it, and you would also have in your envelope another one. So there's another option, an idea of what you can do. Usually, if I do these, it's just grab some envelopes and start folding it and seeing what's going to happen. So I wanted to take a moment and show you. I'm going to take an envelope and basically cram a bunch of different ideas into it. So hopefully this video isn't an hour long again. Here is a page or an envelope that I got from Dish. It had my bill. Check your bills though, because a lot of times you'll also get these other envelopes that, you know, it's to send back your payment or whatever in it. So hey, 2 envelopes. What I am going to do is, I don't know. What do I want to do? We're going to fold this side up. No, I don't want to use that one. We're not using that one. We're not using it because I don't want to. Okay, we're going to use this one, and here's why. I have a window here. A lot of times people use this window, and that's because if you put your card in there, or your tag, you can see it through there. I don't do it. Sorry, it's just not how I am. This envelope has not been coffee dyed, but all I'm going to do is fold the bottom up to create a little bit of a pocket. Do keep in mind though, a lot of these envelopes are different weights. So you'll get some that are very thin paper, some of them that are a lot heavier. So just keep that in mind when you're doing them. And I am going to use this paper. Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to use this paper to cover the white of the envelope. Yeah, usually I'm no filters, no editing. You guys all get to see my mistakes. You get to see what worked and what didn't. But I didn't plan this out at all. So it's kind of like I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do it. And like I said, the last video ended up being an hour. Nobody wants to hear me ramble on for an hour. That is just way too much of me randomly talking. So my paper's cut. All I'm going to do is slide it in between this little flap. And here is why. I'm going to maybe just lay it down, trace around where my envelope flap is. Try not to draw on your envelope like I just did. I'm going to cut around my line, hopefully not making too many mistakes. All right, let's see how bad I did on that. I don't know if you guys can tell at all, but when I lay these when I lay my decorative paper on my envelope and get it to line up, which it's not while I'm trying to do this, I have just a little bit of a gap. I'm not worried about that. I'll distress around it. It will cover it up. And I don't think anybody would notice it. So I'm going to take my glue stick. Play watercolors. Or paint your paper with glue. I'm just going to warn you guys, I am a hotter mess than normal today. I have all my stuff around me and it's making me all, I don't like working in a messy area, even though I do it all the time. Okay. So that part has been laid down. When it flaps over, that'll be nice and covered up. Let's grab another piece of paper. You by no means have to go through and cover all this up like I'm doing on all these, but I wanted to, so that's what I'm doing. At this point, I'm really hoping that I'm actually in screen or in view so you can see what I'm doing. But if not, I'm sorry. It's kind of funny, Sherry over at Studio 28E, I think I said that right, had asked me to make a video, but she has this really cool, you know, pass on tips and tricks. Well, yesterday she had made a comment about doing this with envelopes, and I was like, oh, well, you know that video you wanted me to do? That's what I was planning on doing it on anyway, so that is what I'm here doing today. Maybe that's why my other video was an hour, because you guys gotta sit here and watch me cut paper. One thing I recommend when you're doing these, don't glue down this flap until after you're done, because I tend not to follow that advice. And then I'm trying to get in because I gotta glue something or whatever, and it just makes it so much harder. So do as I say, not as I do, because if you do what I do, I'm gonna try to make it harder on you. All I'm gonna do is, I don't want to cut this. I don't want to try to measure it and cut it and do all that. We are trying to keep this easy. So what I'm gonna do is make a mess. Take my glue stick. I'm gonna try not to get a bunch of glue right there, since I don't know what I'm doing yet. We're gonna glue right there. Use whatever glue happens to be your favorite. Whatever works for you. One tip or trick I would like to pass on to you is, okay, you guys all know I'm impatient when I'm doing something. Go figure. So usually if I'm, you know, gluing on my embellishments and stuff like that on a journal, I hate waiting for the glue to dry. So I use parchment paper. Now, wax paper would work better. It's just I happen to always have parchment paper. Use that between your pieces of paper, between whatever you happen to be working on. What it'll do is it'll help it from gluing to each other. And here in just a second, I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. You guys know I can't cut and talk at the same time. I can't cut just in general. Okay. So that's part of it. Now, like I said, I don't necessarily want to glue this down since I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to use the parchment paper. All I'm going to do is put that in there. Now when that glue dries, I don't have to worry about it gluing to the inside of my envelope. Woohoo, I'm actually going to have enough of that to do. Does that one fit on there too? Let's use that one. So I want to go ahead and cover this as well. No, I'm not going to cover that side yet. I think I'm going to do something different. I'm going to trim down this side. We have that like that. I think I'm actually going to trim down. No, I'm not going to trim down anything. I'm not going to trim down anything. We're not doing that. We're going to do something else. Guys, can you tell how this has been going for me today? This is very authentic how I craft. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not. I changed my mind. I don't like that at all. I'm not worried about taking my paper all the way down here because that's going to cover it up. Why spend the time and energy and effort doing that if you don't need to? However, I'm going to move my paper over because it wasn't even covering all of it. Okay. Now I'm going to take my scissors and just cut across the top to cut off the excess paper that I left on there. Because I don't want it. Now this is one of those projects that if you left it simple, you could very easily make up a bunch of them. And, you know, when you're working on a journal, just pull them out and kind of add to them to make them where they look like they go with the journal that you're doing. But there you go. We got a corner tuck right there. We got either, you could glue across the side and the bottom. Well, you wouldn't even have to glue across the bottom. Okay, you could glue across the side and make this where it's a tuck in. You could glue down both sides and make it a pocket. And you can do the same thing with your top. What I would do, because that's what I use distressed ink for, is to cover stuff up, cover up any mistakes that I made, is I would just go through and, you know how you see that little bit of a white? The distress is just going to cover that right up. And then we'll pretend like it never happened. But I would just go through and distress around all your edges, like we do, because that's what we do. We distress everything. I don't know. I think I distressed my husband. Oh wait, that might just be stress. Now I do, even though this part of it won't be seen, I do like to just hit it a little bit in case for whatever reason my lines don't line up or whatever. You won't notice it. I am in your way. I'm in your way if I'm in view. If I'm not in view, then I'm not in your way because you can't see any of this. So I'm almost done. Promise, guys, I'm almost done with this part. Not with the video, just with this part of watching me go around my edges. Another tip I wanted to kind of share with you guys is I use the Tim Holtz Distress ink. And I use them because I like the colors that they have. However, a cheaper option that just about every craft store is going to have is, I know Michael's, I believe it is, has these little 1x1 ink pads. And those work just fine too. What you want to do is you want a drier ink. You don't want your ink pads super saturated or they tend not to distress as easily. So there's one pocket. I'm going to show you something different. At this point, I'm not going to go through and cover them with paper or do that step because we don't want me talking forever. Okay, so what you could do is fold your envelope. I'm going to cut across the top and down the side, and I'm going to stop at where this fold line is. And I'm trying to just take a little bit off. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and glue down my flap a little bit. So we're just going to glue the flap down. And I'm going to check to see if I'm even, oh yeah, I'm in view. Woohoo! Okay. So now that you have your paper like that, or your envelope like that, you can fold your edge over. Now, envelopes with this blue inside drive me crazy. So I would cover this with paper, and I would cover the inside of this with paper so you don't notice that. I don't know why it drives me so crazy, but it does. I'm going to take my glue stick and just put some on there so that when this comes over, it stays in place. So now what we have is me not being able to find something. I don't want to use this big piece. I don't want to use this piece. Okay, well, I'm using this piece. You could keep this as a pocket like we did on the other side. Just don't glue it down like I did. You would have this as a pocket or a tuck. You would now have this as a tuck, and it would kind of show more so that if it was in there, you get to see more of what you're sticking in. Yeah, that's very descriptive words. So we have that. Here is something else that we can do. Let's see, I showed you, yeah, I did show you in the book how I cut this down and made it a side tuck. I'm hoping I did. If not, that was on the other really long video. But here's the little scrap piece from when I cut that off. So what you could do is take one of the bottoms that are still together. Can't find my ruler. I'm going to cut this about 2 inches over. Does not have to be 2 inches. It could be 5 inches. It could be 10, whatever you want to do. So what I'm working with is like a 2 by 2 square. Let me grab something. Let's pretend this is your page. You can either glue around 2 sides, you know, the side and the bottom, and make it where it's like a double tuck, because you would have in between and you would also have in the middle. You could glue this completely down and have one tuck. Here's what I think I would do. I'm going to take these little flaps and I'm going to fold them back on themselves just to give me a little, I don't know, guideline, I guess. And do the same thing on this side. One, it's going to add a little extra strength. Two, it's also going to hide the blue inside that I don't like. So now that I have my little guide, I'm just going to fold these maybe inside, maybe. And I think I would go ahead and add some glue so that those stay kind of permanently there. You probably wouldn't even have to though. So I got one side in. Now I'm going to take this side and do the same thing. Just kind of open it up and feed that in. Maybe. I didn't say this was easy to do. So now what I have is inside, you don't really see much besides the coffee paper. You now have a corner tuck that you can put on your page. And put it in there like that. Or you have a paper football. Whatever you want to do with it. I'm going to see if I can check my time real quick. All right, I'm going to show you one last thing really quick. Really quick, because this is getting to become a long video again. I wanted to show you something that I did before, and it's super simple, but it's cute. Okay, I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper. I'm kind of folding the top just to see where my center fold is. I'm going to bring the corners in to make it look like an envelope on both sides. Like that. Take my trusty glue stick. Put a little on there to help hold those flaps down. You don't have to do that part. I just like it. Get some on my cutting mat because that's what I do. Guys, I am so trying to rush through and I just chase a piece of paper around with my glue on it. Okay, so now that I have that folded like that, I want to leave just a little space before I fold it down. And the reason for that is so that when you fold the other pages in, it doesn't become too bulky where it won't close, I guess is the best way to describe it. So I have a little bit of a space between the two. I'm gonna fold this piece up. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna go all the way up to that fold line that I just did. I'm gonna fold it, do the same thing, bring this up like that. Now what I actually like to do is I like to undo it and kind of make it like an accordion fold. Now when you go to put it in your journal, you can either take a paper clip, you know, like an altered pretty one or whatever, pin it in there to a page to kind of hold it. You could glue this side down so that when you're ready to use it, you just open that up and then, you know, that part comes down. I've done the same thing with a piece of book paper before, or book page. Yeah, book page makes more sense. Okay. You guys know I'm kind of obsessed with that. I took and wrapped a little bit of paper around and added some lace so that it becomes kind of like a belly band, I guess. So there's that. So I showed you how to do that. I showed you how to make some little pockets and stuff with, you know, junk mail. You could always take this and, you know, decorate it up a little bit, make it like a journal card to go in there. I showed you how to do a side tuck with it. So yeah, guys, that video is not as long as the first one was. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something new, had some fun. If nothing else, laughing at me a little bit, I would. Make sure you check us out on Facebook. It's Paper Lifers, Junk Journals, and Papercraft group. Check out Sherry over at Studio 28E. Everybody have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.